It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Hey, it's 10 a.m. and this is Utah's best sports radio.
Say my name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, there are certain times of the year, and I'm so glad, Tim, I know you've done one of these before on a fill-in basis, but I am really fired up to have you as part of not just the Zone family, but the Minky Couture family. Because what we do here at Minky Couture is we make our listeners who, and I love all of you very much, sometimes you guys sometimes you're not the brightest bunch out there. And I mean that with nothing but love and admiration because I'm one of you. We screw up holidays all the time. Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas. Look, I once actually gave my wife a vacuum cleaner for Christmas because she said we needed a vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, okay, it's Christmas. She said we needed a new vacuum cleaner. I put two and two together. And so I wrapped up a very nice wrapping job, I might add, a vacuum cleaner. All right, bad idea. Don't do that. I screwed up. You shouldn't screw up because all you have to do is come to Minky Couture. We're up here in Layton. You stop by, you grab a blanket, and you can walk out of these doors knowing that you have not screwed up Mother's Day. You have not gotten the proverbial vacuum cleaner. You're going to be all right.
What was the delay in the time that she talked to you after that?
You know what? Honestly, my
Did
wife.
You make it to New Year's or
you met my wife over the weekend.
I did. She
is just an incredible human being, and I could tell that it didn't hit, but she's like, you know what? My guy tried. And it's part of the education process, and we're going to get him where he needs to be.
Well, good for Jen.
So she was totally cool about it. And but then I started to realize, and this is a guy thing too. A lot of times we think, okay, we need something, so I should gift that. No, don't gift needs, gift wants. And she wants a Minky Couture blanket. And frankly, she probably needs a Minky Couture blanket, but she definitely wants one. So you just come here, you grab a blanket, you hand it over to either your mom, your wife. Sometimes you've got daughters that are now mothers. You can hook them up as well. So let's go. It's really simple. Up here in Layton. Now, that's just one of many Minky Couture locations. This is where Coach and I are going to be. And, Coach, I kind of teased earlier in the week that we might bump things up a little bit. Today, 55% off.
It's a way to buy it, man.
Yep. So you come in, you say Zone 55, they're going to give you that extra 5% off. You are getting more than half off. That includes your Hugs collection, the Mother's Day collection, robes, the everywhere blankets, the tote bags. Come on. Makes too much sense.
So it's probably been 3 years since I filled in on this very show. I think Hans went out of town, and you and I were up here, if I remember right. And I was just looking through as we got here today, and I was talking to Lisa and the gals that work here, and I said, it's amazing to me how you've expanded. You had the blanket, but like you said, there's all sorts of different options. They even got things for your pets.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at this Minky. I buy my cat everything. Old Jude. So I might go home with a pet gift.
I love that you named your cat Jude, by the way.
Because when you call for it,
hey Jude.
Everything in my life has a Easter egg of one way or another.
It should be.
But I'm pumped to be up here. I will say if I'm not a member of the Minky family, I'm a distant cousin.
Oh, you're full out in the family now.
Because, well, I'm in now, but I've had Minkies for years. And I just got a new one for Christmas from my daughter, and it was the extra big one.
Yeah, the Grande.
Oh, my gosh. You want to talk about luxury. And you said it when we sat down. It doesn't matter if it's summer because you find a way to use the thing. You just don't go with full coverage.
Yes.
You got to get your feet kicked out of there.
Keep those feet out. You'll be fine.
So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Awesome to be with you again today, and grateful for Minky Couture for having us.
So come on by to Layton and say hi, and we will hook you up with 55% off. Now, if you can't make it to Layton, we totally understand. We're selfish. We want to see you. But they've got locations in Ogden, Sugar House, Draper, Orem, St. George, a new one, a beautiful spot up in Logan that I was driving by right there on Main Street. So you can find a Minky wherever you're at, wherever you're listening to us. You'll have one close to you. Zone 55. Get that 55% off. All right. By the way, I love being on remote here because I love seeing our listeners, and you'll know them when you see them.
Oh, no question.
Our guys will come in, and they'll be like looking around, and one of the lovely associates here at Minky Couture will be like, all right, it's going to be okay. We're going to get you through this. And they'll say, all right, this is – oh, and the other great thing is if you feel like you're going to screw up a color, then just get one. Just get kind of like a neutral one, and then she can bring it back and swap it out. So if you're intimidated by the color, size, whatever, don't worry about it. Just come on by, grab one, and then she can swap it out if she needs to.
I absolutely agree. I saw it happen last time. They are great, and they will take you – show you the robes. We talked about the hugs or the blankets, the classic ones or the luxury blankets, the grandes. So they got a little bit of everything. If you do come in and want, it is in my contract that I handle Scotty's autographs. So we're going to put that number. What do you think today, Lloyd? Should we hold it back to like 25?
If honestly, if one person asks for an autograph, I will put the autographs setting at 0.5, and I would take the under.
It's Alex is back there. You think 25, Alex?
25 is a good number.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The first 25 that ask, we'll go ahead and let it happen this time. So.
And then after that, we'll charge you.
But
I'm going to Pete Rose this.
If you're going to get a Scotty, you got to come through the dude in the pink sweater.
All right, let's get it, folks. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Yeah, rocking the pink today, man. Looking good.
Mother's Day.
Yes, sir. All right, time for your starting lineup. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to kick off the show with the biggest headlines of the day. This is your starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
At the foul line, now he retreats to midcourt, and the Sixers will not foul. The Knicks took Philly's strongest punch here in Game 2, but Jalen Brunson, one of the best clutch players in NBA history, he had more in the tank down the stretch. And with a 108-102 victory, the Knicks have taken Game 2 and a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
You can turn out the lights in the gym here tonight. Spurs are headed home with a W. 133-95 the final. It is the third largest playoff win in Spurs franchise history. And tonight, their 410th playoff game.
All right, so order seemed to be restored a little bit in San Antonio. The Spurs not happy about giving up that Game 1 victory, so they put the hammer down on the T-Wolves, winning that game 133-95. So the Spurs get the split, although the Timberwolves got really what they wanted to steal a game there. However, the Knicks, as you heard their play-by-play voice mention, Philadelphia was not about to go quietly in the night. They got embarrassed in Game 1 and then said, okay, Game 2, it's going to be a little different here. And Philadelphia came out. They played much, much better, had a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter, but in the end, it was the Knicks finding a way to get it done, and Jalen Brunson does what Jalen Brunson normally does and hits big shots. But it was Karl Anthony Towns with a double-double, 20 points, 10 rebounds, even dished out 7 assists in that game.
Yeah, the Knicks are definitely playing as a cohesive unit, and that game, the announcer said it perfect. The Sixers did give them their best punch, and it's almost as though we'd heard that was going to happen yesterday. The fact that no Embiid, but those guards are really dangerous. I expect Philly to give New York everything they can handle, and they did. So right now the Knicks have got to be feeling really good. Obviously, getting the 2 at home. I wonder what Embiid will be going forward, but I guess that's what Embiid means in, Nigeria or wherever he came from. It's a totally, it's an outlier. You don't even know what to expect. So Knicks are in commanding spot there, and then the Spurs just railroaded last night. The Timberwolves. I was looking at the stats in that game, and the points in the paint were pretty telling in a game where Wemby felt like he didn't go to the paint enough. He wasn't as aggressive as he should have been. But the points in the paint in that game, 58 points for the Spurs, 36 for the Wolves. And to me, it's human nature. It's weird, but it looked like the Wolves were happy with the split.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind
got
of what
that.
it looked like to me.
Yeah. We did what we needed to do. We stole one on the road. Now let's go back to Minneapolis and try to hold home court there. And yeah, you're right. I think there's a certain element of that. And I don't think anybody's in the locker room saying, all right, guys, mail this one in. We did what we wanted. We got the road split at bare minimum. So let's get this thing back to Minnesota. But I think it's just like a subconscious thing, too. It's like, we got you. Go ahead and have this one. But you know what we did. You know what we got away with. So I would have liked Minnesota to play a little bit better there. They were down, 31 at halftime.
It was so nasty. I mean, that was one if you got to the end of that one, you should get a prize.
Yeah.
Because it was not great. But the Spurs, the Spurs showed why everybody's talking about could it be them this year in the West, because when they do play really well, they hit 16 threes last night. And so then they have it going on the inside. They scored 58 points in the paint, add 16 threes to that. 33 trips to the line, 27 makes. The offense was going last night.
How about in 19 minutes? And I know I always want to be careful about plus minuses, but in his 19 minutes on the court, Keldon Johnson was plus 28 for the Spurs last night.
Yeah, that's an incredibly high number. And, the Spurs actually have kind of a OKC light.
Yeah.
Because they have guys like Keldon Johnson. He would be similar like a Caruso that you can throw in there and just bulldog people. He's really big and physical. So on the offensive end, there's often times where he'll have the size and strength advantage. So it's a guy you can kind of play through offensively while he's out there, and then defensively you can really count on him.
And then you got De'Aaron Fox. He had 16 points. He's plus 24 out on the court. And then Victor doing Victor things. He plays 26 minutes, 7 of 15, ends up with 15 rebounds, 19 points, 2 block shots. It seemed like the intensity, and it felt like as a coach, when a guy that can be great isn't great, and you challenge them, I'm sure you always go, all right, let's see how he handles this. We just challenged him. We just told him he needs to play better. How's he going to respond? And I thought he responded well.
Oh, big time. And the thing is, the guy understands. He knows what his weaknesses are, and he knows what people are going to attack. Oftentimes, like you look at Ben Simmons in his career, his weakness was he couldn't shoot outside of the paint. And instead of, kind of failing at it until he could succeed, he just didn't shoot shots anywhere else, right? And so development basically ceased. And what I like about, what you saw last night with that was, guys were out there balling. They're out there playing. And one guy stood out to me, man, Steph Castle. Steph Castle, when he came out of the draft, I was absolutely in love with his tape. And so many people downplayed him because he couldn't shoot the three. And look, he was 0 for 1 from 3 last night, but he was 6 for 10, and he had 21 points in 24 minutes. He's just got a great way about him. He carries himself like a star. And the Spurs, if it comes down to Spurs OKC, and again, we react, right? The Wolves win 1. But we said yesterday, I think this is going 7. I think this series will go 7. I think Timberwolves will find a way to wrestle at least one back at home, and then you're going to see it kind of go back and forth.
Steph Castle, also a perfect, not that he just was perfect from the free throw line. He had 9 attempts.
Got there 9 times.
9 times.
So, maybe Donovan Mitchell takes a book out of Castle's, because Castle is a guy who, if he sees contact, he's going to seek it out. He's going to actually use contact to his advantage. There is part of basketball where Majerus used to talk about it. You don't want a guy to be able to feel your body for very long, because they can basically locate where you are. So you want to be able to play at the gap. He gets to a body, and he's pushing through the body to a finish. And that's why he gets to the line 9 times.
9 times. All right. So your other game last night, as we mentioned, The Knicks get the 108-102 victory. And if you're Philadelphia, you kind of feel the opposite of San Antonio. You gave up the Game 1 victory, and then you got blown out. But then you're like, okay, you know what? That we were tired. We were coming off a long series. We didn't have a lot of rest. Now's the time to settle in and really give this team and throw a few haymakers. And they did. And the Knicks are like, okay. And they end up still winning by 6. I think that can be really demoralizing to a team when they play well and you know they're playing well and you're not playing your particularly best basketball and yet you still make plays down the stretch to win. I still think this thing goes maybe – I think you're getting a gentleman's sweep out of this one.
I think you may. The Sixers at home, the one thing they have going for them is they played from behind in the Celtics series and actually had some success coming from behind. So they certainly won't be as panicked. In fact, probably feeling a little bit of confidence and resolve that they can get the thing turned back the right direction. Unsung hero, as always, for the Knicks is Bridges. He was phenomenal last night. And here's the stat I love. In a week, we've been talking about this. This guy in the last 5 years, so May 7th, 21 to May 7th, 26, this dude has played the most games of anybody in the NBA at 417. So he's out there every night, and he played for Tibbs a lot of that. So not only is he out there every night, he's playing about every minute. So you got to give that dude some flowers. Is a role player, I get it, but if you're going to win a championship, you've got to have those guys step up, and he was big time for the Knicks last night.
And look, Maxey is doing everything he can. He played 47 minutes last night. He ends up with 26 points. Couldn't shoot the 3, 1 of 6, but he gets to the free throw line 9 times, 7 of 9. But that's a guy that is like, look, he's just dragging that team. It seems like at times, and but. With no Embiid, I really don't look at them as a team that can really put up much of a challenge. But we are seeing Maxey show up in a big way. That dude's special.
And you're going to see alongside him what Edgecombe is now and what he will be. I mean, he's got a leap the size in him that Keyonte had this year. I mean, there'll be a time where you're going to play Edgecombe and it's a marquee name. That guy, he's really impressed me this year. And if the Sixers can figure it out and let those guys play, if Embiid can somehow be a participant in the deal, and I understand with all of the money he's making, he'd be a difficult guy to get rid of. So it's an interesting spot for them, but I still believe that they don't think they're dead. I don't think they're fully dead. We'll see what happens in Game 3. But again, having come back in the last series, I think that's a good sign that maybe they can do it again.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Games coming up tonight in the association. Again, you'll have the Cleveland Cavaliers down 1-0, trying to steal one on the road. They'll be at Detroit. And then the foregone conclusion that the Thunder will wax the Lakers. That's Game 2 coming up tonight. OKC a 15.5-point favorite in that game. We're talking the second round of the playoffs, and a team's a near 16-point favorite.
And they're going to get every bit of that. I do believe the Lakers are done. And that is statistically, analytically, personnel-wise, just totally stacked in the wrong direction for the Lakers.
And I know you don't, like you are the optimist. Like, you want these series to extend because you like basketball. We all like it. And so I love that you're like, you know what? If this happens, we could have a series on our hands. There you're like, no, this one's
you
done.
can just see it, And if Luka's out there, it's different.
Oh,
because Luka can flat out go win you a series, if he's playing right. So, but the Cavaliers-Pistons, there's intrigue there.
Yes.
The Pistons basically big-boyed the Cavs the other night. We'll see if they can do it again.
Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to dig into doing with Spring Garden deals at the Home Depot. Save on plants like azaleas and hydrangeas to add a pop of color to your garden. Or grow a veggie garden and turn fresh harvests into feasts that bring everyone to the table. No matter your garden goals, the Home Depot has everything you need. Shop Spring Garden deals for 4 days at the Home Depot, now through May 10th.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Ever wonder who's out there making the world go round? It's truckers. Who unites baristas with coffee beans? Truckers. Who unites dogs with their favorite chew toy? Truckers. That's why Progressive offers truckers even more protection with Cargo Plus coverage to keep truckers moving right along. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions. Not yet available in California, New York, and Virginia.
On to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb, coming to you every day from 10 to 2. Always love coming up here to Upper Davis County. Layton, everybody's cool up here. And you will find out very quickly that listeners in Davis County very generous. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see a few little goodies come your way throughout the show. If you want to introduce yourself to Coach, yeah, you know what to do. Davis County takes care of you.
Well, if you're going to bring us something, maybe a sandwich or,
We had one guy brought his caramels by.
That's right. That
yeah,
was
those
amazing.
were good. Those are good.
I finished those up a couple nights ago.
Yeah. So I'm a little torn on this. The college football playoff looks like we're on our way to 24 teams. Is there such thing as too much of a good thing? I think so, because I think we're looking at a situation right now where we're just turning it into, a glorified NFL playoff. I would much rather keep this thing somewhat limited, 12, maybe 16, 24 seems a little excessive.
It seems high, but what I do like about it is you're going to make sure, at that point, if you're arguing for the wrong thing. It's probably a smaller school with probably a bad strength of schedule. It feels like they should be in there. But in terms of like the real teams that can contend, I think 24 is actually a number that will ensure that, the champion will actually have to really be tested.
When you, we're seeing this expansion and everybody wants to expand everything. The NCAA Tournament, where are you at on that?
No, I don't want to expand that. I don't feel like you need to. I think it's been tried and true for as long as it's been around. And that number seemed to work. I mean, a couple of years ago, they put the meaningless play-in games into it. And if you were to poll people, I'll bet that if 60% of sports fans watch the NCAA Tournament, I would say 20%, if they're lucky, watch those first two nights.
Yeah, the Dayton games.
Yeah, they just don't matter, they mattered when we played in it. That's the only time I've ever cared about it. And beyond that, or if a buddy's playing in it or something, but, there's a personal interest. I just think on a sports level, it doesn't matter. So if you're going to actually add more to it, I think you're losing at that point. Football, I like the number 24 because it's actually a good place to start. And if it becomes too much, maybe you can call it.
So essentially what they're going to do is really adjust the schedule. Now, by the way, this is not official as of yet. It's the the American Football Conference Association recommending changes.
Should be the America First.
I know. Hey, look, let's call Dave and let's get him in on this.
I mean, the sponsorship dollars, they would be there. So
let's go.
Do it.
Yeah. But the board, they announced they had 4 proposed calendar changes. They don't want conference championship games, so just eliminate the conference championship games. Then you have your regular season, but it will start early. And then you will have your postseason games to be played on the same day, reducing the minimum number of days between games to no fewer than 6. Now that I'm all in favor for, because I hate this end of the season, and then you have 3-4 weeks in between a conference championship game and the actual, semifinal game in the champ. That to me is a joke.
Yeah, it's almost like, who are these guys again?
Exactly. It's like
so much time has gone that But I do like I like the proposal of getting rid of the championship games.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's those big conferences where teams don't play each other, but at the end of the day, I feel like the champion of that league's already been crowned.
Correct.
And the regular season should have more impact than one game.
I'm all about the putting more value on the regular season as much as you possibly can. To me, if you can do that, that's what I would value more than anything is let's get back to putting a value on the regular season. But then also when you expand the playoffs to 24, it makes it a lot easier to get in there too. But look, there was, Urban Meyer had an Ohio State team that just barely made the playoffs, and then they blew right through and won a national championship. That last Ohio State team from just 2 years ago won a national championship, just barely got into the playoffs. So who knows? Maybe you expand this team, you will have a team that just barely made the 24 that goes on a heater and wins the thing.
Yeah, at least you would have. I mean, at 16, I could see somebody on 17 and 18 feeling like they should be in there. At 24, you have got everybody you need.
Yeah.
And it should be competitive, and there should be a good balance of really good teams and teams that, are just hanging on in terms of that level, and then you let them play it out. I mean, but that's the best way to do it, and so I think that would actually be a positive. In reality, this thing's been being tweaked since football was started in college.
You mean they'll let more SEC and Big Ten teams?
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
Yeah. And that's what it'll be.
That'll probably be that. Yeah, it'll probably be
not
that.
Probably, it will be.
It will be. That's how they get paid.
Yeah.
No, 100%. But this thing's been being tweaked. I lived through 1984. I was a 14-year-old kid when BYU won the, as some people say, the proverbial national championship because, back then that's what it was. Like there was one syndicate that gave the trophy and another. BYU they won it that year because they went undefeated, and then, strength of schedule gets talked about, and so there's more emphasis on that. So it's been tweaked and changed, and they're trying to perfect it, I guess. But for me, less is usually more. But in this case, I think you get a number there that can compete. When you leave, you go, hey, okay, I feel like nobody got left out. We saw everybody's best, and that is the champ.
I am all in favor of starting the season a little bit earlier. Now you're going to eliminate week 0, and essentially that will be the start of college football. So you bump up the week, you bump up the start of the season a week. Again, so you're looking at, instead of like late August, early September, you're looking about that third week in August to get the season started, which, hey, I'm all for that. Let's go.
That keeps a little gap maybe with basketball, right?
Yep.
I mean, we'll shorten that for you maybe.
Week 0 has always felt weird, by the way. Just call it week 1.
Right.
Yeah. It's just week 1.
And have everybody play it.
Yeah. Week 0, there should be no games.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, Utah State played in a week 0 game, and it just felt like it was a preseason game. It
Was
just
that the
didn't
Texas
feel right.
A&M game?
No, they played. It was 2 years ago. They played UConn.
Oh, that's right.
Jim Mora at home, and it just And I know a lot of teams like to do it, and it was originally done because of Hawaii, and Hawaii's got a bunch of things they need to shuffle around with their schedules, and then a few more teams kind of jumped in on it. Now let's just move everybody there. Let's just get it going.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this does a good job of separating you a little bit more from the NFL too, because the NFL is always going to reign supreme. So if you get a 2-week head start on the NFL instead of a 1-week head start, I think that makes you a little bit more relevant, at least for a couple weeks before the NFL starts.
Storylines out there, a couple big performances, people get drawn in. It's eyeballs everybody's competing for, and so that would be an actual way to jump. Get a couple weeks would be. I think that'd be a good move.
So you got 2 formulas that are still being thrown out there: 16-team and 24. This AFCA group, led by former Wyoming head coach Craig Bohl, is the executive director of that bad boy. He's saying, look, we think it should be 24. That's what they're recommending. It doesn't mean that's what it's going to be, but it would not surprise me if that's where it goes, because all of a sudden a lot of athletic directors and college and conference commissioners are going to start looking at the dollar signs and saying, how
do we get in there?
That adds an extra 0 to the back end of that number. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
And Lloyd's right. It'll be power conference teams.
Oh, yeah.
So let's not even debate that.
Yeah, it'll be more SEC, more Big Ten teams that'll find a way to crash the party. And back to the NCAA tournament, I mean, essentially all that Greg Sankey's trying to do there is protect his base.
More shares
for them, and also make the 16 teams play each other that first round, and make all those teams that just barely made the tournament, which more often than not are going to be a lot of those group of 5 teams, and make them play each other that first couple games or that first round, and then you don't have your UMBC knocking off Virginia because they've already got a game under their belt. They're already beat up a little bit, and it avoids the upsets. It allows your better teams to have a little bit of an easier path moving forward.
Which is what tournaments should do, right? Reward the teams that have kind of put the body of work out there. So, it'll be interesting to continue to watch the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. I mean, it's doesn't matter if it's the scheduling, the timing, the salary cap or non-salary cap. There seems to be a story popping every day.
So if you're BYU or Utah, I think ultimately you go to bed with a big smile on your face knowing that we have a seat at the table here.
Oh, yeah.
And
this was the goal all along,
yeah.
Right? Just you got to get in there, you got to get a seat, and then hopefully musical chairs doesn't start and they take seats out and you start fighting. But that's what's going to happen too. Kyle Whittingham was on to it years ago. I heard him speak at a function, and he went on forever about, hey, they're going to get this thing down to a really small number, and you've got to have all your ducks in a row to get there. And we're kind of watching that all happen.
There will be a bit of a, like that movie, what was it, where you could commit any crime on a day, like The Purge.
Yeah. The Purge.
Yeah, there will be a purge in college football, or especially in college football, where it's like, hey, and we always used to joke about Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt actually got good.
Let's go Rutgers.
But, yeah, Rutgers. It's like, yeah, okay, you're cashing a lot of our checks, but we're not seeing a lot of effort on your part to be relevant. So off you go.
Stanford even.
Yeah, Stanford. Cal.
There's
a lot of teams out there that are a quote-unquote Power 4 team, but are they really? Not really.
And especially, you have to re-quantify it now with who's got the money, who can really continue to generate it. Power, the blue bloods are going to be determined as opposed to, history is gone. The past doesn't mean anything. You're watching in real time University of Kentucky, who has basically just laid it out there forever. They went and got the guys they needed to get and wanted to get, and then everybody else got to pick. And you're watching it in real time where they can't get a basketball team signed because guys, you keep getting these recruiting battles and they're losing. And that never happened at Kentucky, and it's not because of Mark Pope. I'll promise you that. The guy's working his butt off. The landscape has changed, and being a Kentucky Wildcat and having all that comes with it, and that sometimes was extra benefits. Well, guess what? Everybody's got that.
Yeah. A kid can, BYU can say, oh, well, we can pay, and Kentucky's like, well, we have been paying. All right, well, BYU can match you dollar for dollar now. And if you look at 2 blue blood programs, one in football, one in basketball, that has been hurt in terms of their dynasties in their respective sports. Kentucky in basketball, Alabama in football.
100%.
I don't hate that.
And those 2 teams, they were the epitome of, all right, here's the 5 stars. Which ones do you want? Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll take that one. Okay. All right, you guys good? All right, everybody else can go now.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be.
Yeah. They weren't recruiting. They were shopping.
They were shopping. Yeah, they were 100% shopping, just like you'd come in here and shop for a Minky blanket.
Yep.
You find what you want, you walk up to it and you say, how much is this going to cost me? And where do I make the payment back then?
Yeah.
Now you can just make the payment to the kid.
Yeah. So anybody can come to Minky now.
Everybody can come. And if you've got a big booster, and you obviously saw really quick Texas Tech get relevant. And the reason they're relevant because they're throwing money around and paying guys to come. And so, again, let's not even you have to almost put a barrier in your brain to pre-NIL because you've got all this history in sport, but teams are not what they were. And we're watching it. North Carolina in basketball, Kansas in basketball. Some nights they look pedestrian because everybody else now is able to go out and shop in the same place.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Speaking of shopping, we are live here at Minky Couture. Stop by, hang out. We're in Layton. You're going to get 55% off these blankets. All right. And right now, a little bit of a lull, so you can come in, have your pick of the litter. You can have somebody walk you through. If you feel a little intimidated by all the colors, styles, all of that, it's totally fine. Nobody's going to judge you. You're going to come in here. Somebody's going to help you out. You're going to pick out a great blanket. And even if you don't pick out a great blanket, you bring home a blanket that she thinks is just not right for the home, that's okay. She can bring it right back, swap it out, and get the one she wants. It's all here. Minky Couture, 55% off. We are in Layton, but you can get the same 55% off anywhere up and down the Wasatch Front at any Minky location right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
The best sports radio in Utah is right here, right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, don't just show up to Supercross this weekend. Be part of the weekend. 511 is hosting a free event with custom Jeeps, a great crowd, and more. Friday from 2 to 6 with The Zone at the Salt Lake Store, 369 West, 1830 South. What you may have missed right here on The Zone, we talked about the NBA playoffs last night. NHL playoffs from last night. You had 2 games on the docket. Buffalo gets a Game 1 victory over the Canadiens, 1-0. And then the Ducks have now tied up the series at 1 game apiece. They get the Golden Knights by the count of 3-1 with 2 goals scored in the third period. So the Ducks have evened up that thing at 1 game apiece. That should have been the Mammoth.
Should have been the Mammoth. Interestingly, the Ducks not known for their defense.
Yeah,
kind of flexed their muscles defensively last night and got some crucial we'll The goaltending was great, and so that was an interesting one. That series at 1-1 now.
We're going to get to a point where it doesn't hurt, right? It's going to happen. It's like when you have a breakup in high school or college, and you're like, eventually this is not going to hurt, but we're not quite there yet.
Well,
at least
Bill,
I'm not quite
Bill
there yet.
wasn't either.
I know.
He was very transparent with us yesterday. He's just rolling out of the sack.
It's like I've been suffering from depression and just barely got out of bed for the first time in 3 days.
You guys, what do you guys want to talk about? Oh, hockey? Okay. Thanks.
Oh, man. Yeah, it just I think we all got emotionally invested. And look, we're going to get to the point because I always, everybody always thinks that, oh, you guys hate Utah or you hate BYU. No, actually, when they're good, it's good for business. So I'm always pro Utah. I'm always pro BYU, regardless of what people may think out there. But I try to stay emotionally unattached to both. I could not help but get emotionally attached to the Mammoth. And I maybe that's not the right approach to take when you're doing sports radio, but doggone it, man, I fell in love with those dudes.
Well, I get attached to very few things in my life. Obviously, my wife would be number one. She's been with me forever. Certainly my cat. And then I think third would be my Minky. I think in that order, I think that's what I'm prioritizing. Those things are non-negotiable.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone at Minky Couture.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, Tim LaComb. Hope you're all having a great day. Hour number 2 of the show. How you holding up?
I love this.
Isn't this great? Yeah. I love being up here at Minky Couture. This is, look, we love all the people we get to go to on remotes. All of them are great. But, man, it's just fun coming up here because you actually see our listeners coming in with a confused look on their face, and then they leave with a big smile on their face because they're like, all right, we're going to be okay.
We just met another great listener.
Yeah. Brought us by some honey. He's got a bunch of hives.
David Ball.
Yes.
Good dude.
Big Aggie fan. I've seen him a bunch at games, and yeah, you got to. This is, by the way, I use this when I'm doing my competition ribs for a little bit of my glaze before I wrap them. Yeah. So this honey is No joke.
It's no joke.
All right, so you've got NBA playoffs, you've got NHL playoffs continuing on, but we had a great chat yesterday, I thought, with the general manager of the Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, and I think this is a really interesting avenue for them to take, and you do it. I'm sure you did it at BYU. Rick Majerus, I'm sure, did it at Utah, and I think it's good for every program, every business, at some point in the year to put it up, as you mentioned. Put that car up on the blocks, take it apart, and analyze everything. Alternator, battery, transmission. We're going to look at every angle so that we can get the most out of this vehicle coming up next season. And that's essentially what he's saying is, like, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we are firing on all cylinders, because now it's not just getting to the playoffs. Now it's about winning in the playoffs.
Yeah, and honestly, it's such a process to do that. And Rick was not a guy that would, bring a lot of people in to consult on the overhaul.
Yes, I'm sure.
He would just certainly make his orders and tweaks on his own. But, Dave, that was a big part of what we did. And I mentioned it, one of the things we talked about was we scouted ourselves from the start of the season after a nice break. 2 or 3 weeks, we'd jump into it and start at the beginning of the season. We'd scout ourselves as if we were playing an opponent.
Yeah.
And how would we attack these guys? Where's the weakness? And as you sit and watch game after game after game for, 10, 12 days, you see a pattern develop. I've always said a team has a DNA, just like we all do. And, one of the great things in scouting is try to figure out, how do we crack that? What gives that the biggest issue? And, Herb Sendek's a guy who he loves to put 2 on the ball and ball screens. And so we, when we'd go into that game, we'd drill it and we would tear it up, and he'd never change. There's some things that are just part of guys' fabric and DNA, and it's really the scouting that figures it out. So we try to look at ourselves holistically and say, what are we doing this, basically giving it away?
Yeah.
Or where are we just absolutely not even in the ballpark from a scheme perspective?
Well, we always look at, in radio, your crutch words, the words that you use when you're just trying to fill a sentence and you go to them over and over. And a lot of times you don't know it. But then you got Lloyd or somebody out there to be like, hey, you're using this over and over. You may want to revisit this, or you may want to think of another way to describe this. And you're like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. I haven't even really picked that up before. And so that having somebody else's eyes, or in this case, the ears, kind of look at it and say, okay, yeah, you're doing this too much. You're doing this too much. There was a great story. Gary Anderson told me they were playing LSU, and Dave Aranda, who's now the head coach at Baylor, but he was the defensive coordinator at LSU. And that's the year Joe Burrow, and they won the national championship. And after the game was over, Dave Aranda took the whole scouting report he had and developed for Utah State offense and sent it over to the Utah State coaches and said, this is what I've seen. These are your tendencies. This is what you do on 3rd and long. This is what you do, inside the red zone. And he went through and he had everything analyzed. And Gary's like, you know what? He picked up on stuff that we didn't know about ourselves. And sometimes you need that other set of eyes to say, like, hey, you know what? You're doing this too often, or you need to check this, or this guy's a weakness and we're going after him. Just heads up on that.
When you would play teams like with friends on the other side, that would be a common conversation afterwards. You get into the ego of wanting to beat them, the competition and all that. When that's all over and the emotion's gone, you talk about, what was easy for you tonight, and what did you try to attack with us? What did you like that we did? And those notes, again, the common thread to this is you want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you just keep doing the same old thing. But this process requires you to swallow your pride. And Bill said that in the conversation yesterday. You asked him, how do you handle those hard conversations? Because the power play was somebody's baby.
Yeah.
Somebody was out there every day coaching that, trying to figure out a way to get it to succeed. And, this year it let them down. But you get into the room and you say, is it that person? Is it that scheme? And you really hash it out. And so that person has kind of put all that body of work, has got to sit there and defend, the work they did and what they're going to do to try to improve.
And I think that's those hard conversations. But he said, we're honest. You know what? I'm going to look at myself. I'm going to look at individual coaches. I'm going to look at individual players. And that, to me, I got to imagine is probably one of the hard things to do, to put that pride aside and say, what's best for the team? And if it's something that I need to improve on or something that I need to do better with my scouting or something along those lines, then, okay, what can we do to be better as a team? And if you can swallow the pride, you can get better. But if you're going to be sensitive about it, then it's probably not the right profession for you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, as you rise in the ranks, it seems as though people forget why they were, how they got in the first place. They get caught up in all the games instead of the game. And you see it in players too. Mm-hmm. We talk about the margin between, for say, like Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. And, the bottom line is Jalen Brunson has outplayed Donovan. And when you looked at those guys coming out, you would say that, Brunson's just got hanging on by a thread and Donovan's going to be the superstar. And in Donovan's mind, he's still a superstar. He's making the all-star team, all that stuff. He's getting, endorsement deals and people love him. But at the end of the day, when you're hanging up and you're done, nobody cares about any of that.
No.
And so the whole end game, if you're coaching, if you're playing, it's, okay, this didn't work this time. And how do we holistically, we've got to be honest about it too. Like Bill said, you have to put all ego aside, get in that room, hash it out, and come with a plan. And the cool part about it is if everybody can get on the same page, then you get ahead of it. And that's where culture can maybe start to build a little bit. You've got expectations, but you also know what direction you're going to go. And so you can tailor your workouts toward it in the summer, and head that direction. So it's a vital piece, but it's a painful piece.
So your guy that you first studied under, Rick Majerus, always had the line, I got to make sure I said it right, statistics can be like bikinis. They conceal as much as they reveal. So there's a lot of times I got to imagine that sometimes can you overthink it? Can you take too long of a look under that car and overreact to certain things that maybe you shouldn't be?
Yeah, and that's another thing that stands out to me when we talk with these high-level executives locally. Bill was the recent example. He talked about how he's an emotional guy, you can tell.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Man, he wants to win. I saw him after a game, after they lost a game, just a regular season game, and, he was red-faced and, he was going into the locker room. But I think the coolest part about it is he's able to channel all that, manage all that. And he even said himself, you got to be even keel in this business. And so, yeah, you have to remove emotion. That's where all that comes from. That's why you take 15 minutes after a game before you say anything to anybody if you're smart.
Yeah.
And, I had to learn that lesson the hard way, too.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
And it took about 5 or 6 times for that to stick. So.
You know what? If I were covering BYU back in the day, I would have my mic right in your face as soon as possible after a game, especially if Deladova just hit a 3/4 court shot.
I actually didn't even have the words for that one. That one, my mouth just was agape, and I remember looking down at St. Mary's bench, and Randy has become one of my very good friends. But at the time, I wanted to strangle the guy. And so I look down there, and even Randy at that point, he looks down at me and he puts his hand out. He's like, "Did he get it off? Did he
yeah, he got it. I'd say he got it.
Did
in
he
time.
get it off?" And I was like, I just kind of looked at him like, "Yeah, you won. Just get in line. Let's shake hands and get out of here."
That's a guy that I find so fascinating because everybody in the coaching world hates him until they get to know him, and then they love him.
He's one of those dudes that keeps a distance. He's very, very careful. It took a long time. A lot of conversations in gyms across the country, just kind of on the level, and not even talking ball, really just talking life. That ultimately, when he got out of coaching, we weren't competing anymore. He was like, "All right, now I compete with friend."
Yeah. How's he going to do at Arizona State?
I think he's going to do well. Arizona State, in my mind, is a place you can win. They've got to figure out how they're going to pay guys and get that all streamlined. But the bottom line is if he gets his guys in there, he is as good as there is in the country at getting guys to play for each other. And if in college basketball in this day and age, again, I don't know now that it's you can get old and stay old, but I think you need to figure out a way to get pretty veteran really quick, and he can get guys to that level. Even guys, they'll do a good job of recruiting overseas, very, very veteran, tough overseas players. I saw the number of guys he brought in, and at first I thought there's no way this guy's going to be a player, and then 2 years later he's kicking your tail, and then he's on the all-conference team.
Yeah, and, he's a stringy-looking kid from Australia who you think, this guy can't play, and then you got a problem.
I think the bottom line is there'll actually be an adult in the room at Arizona State now.
That's a rarity.
And Bobby Hurley, for all of his great playing days, especially the last couple of years, he just mailed it in at Arizona State. He was collecting a check. And so I'm excited to actually see a team in there, a really capable team. He's hired phenomenal assistants, all guys that he's been tied to. So look for Arizona State to move up the rankings.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the Big 12, I think it's going to be fascinating because we talk about dissecting a team. Kevin Young, you and I were talking a little bit about this off the air. He built a team one way last year, and then this year it feels like the approach is a little bit different. And I think that's just the evolution of coaches, whether it's Andre Tierney as the head coach of the Mammoth, whether it's Will Hardy of the Jazz, or Kevin Young at BYU, looking and saying, okay, we were a little top-heavy last year. Maybe let's balance this thing out a little bit and go, instead of the Miami Heat with the Big Three, let's go a little bit more Oklahoma City.
Exactly, and be more versatile. I mean, they're missing the big guy right now. They got to get a big guy.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think I like the makeup of the roster a lot more.
I do too.
I think Colin Chandler is going to be phenomenal there. He's going to he really had to be clutch, figure out how to be clutch to play the minutes he played at Kentucky, and he was clutch for them. I think he's going to feel a freedom playing at BYU where he can just go play, and so he'll be really comfortable there. And I like them bringing Wallin. I watched Wallin since he was 6th or 7th grade.
Big fan of that guy.
And again, you talk about the dudes that come off the bench for the Thunder and bring those positive minutes. That's what he will be. And so I think they have a little bit more of an idea how to not just have great players, but have not just a great team chemistry, with guys that are all there and really want to win.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, it is your bad, it is your ugly right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, so I give all the props in the world, and this is why I want to put it in the good, because Mark Pope is under some heavy fire there in Kentucky. And a lot of coaches will get into their office and hunker down and not see the light of day until the season starts because they don't want to face fans. They don't want to face the media. Well, Mark Pope went the other direction. He said, you know what? Let's do a Q&A and in front of a camera. So he took the tweets, he took the comments, and he did a Q&A in front of the public. And here's some of that.
Big Blue Nation, you never cease to amaze me. 24 hours in, we're almost 2 million views. We're 5,000 questions between X and Instagram. You guys are incredible. So let's jump right to the questions. Kyle S. Robertson, is Kentucky being used by players to leverage for more NIL? Yes. We're the biggest brand in basketball. Next question from @HighSchoolTopRecruiting. What changes are being made to recruiting? You have to see a problem with 14 top 20 kids visiting and landing none. What's the change? Well, the first change, I'd like to get all 20 kids to visit our campus. That's a major win and there's no limits. Second, I'd like to land a few. Third, this year we were chasing a generational talent and we fell a little short, but we weren't sitting on our hands. We put together a roster that we are gonna love watching crush it in Rupp Arena.
And that went on and on and on and on. And look, answering hard questions. Now, granted, it was in a very, contained environment, just taking whatever tweets they wanted to take. But they also said, hey, look, you went 0 for 20 on the top 20 recruits out there and 0 for 14 on the guys that you brought in on campus. And he's like, yeah. And guess what? We were chasing some big names. We didn't land them, but we still like our team, and let's go.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, it is definitely different than what you see. And, I worked with Mark, and he does approach things that way. So it doesn't surprise me. We went and recruited Peyton Dastrup back in the day, he and I. And we went out to the house, and it was, I can't remember the exact occasion. Oh, we were just going out there. It was one of the official visits that we could use to go into the home. And so they invited us to dinner. And so we thought it would be fun, or I shouldn't say we. This is where Mark took over. Mark thought it would be fun to stop and get like a cake mix, aprons.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, down to the oven mitts and everything. And like go in and say, okay, we're going to take the kitchen over and make a cake. Again, like creative, fun, but unique. And, some people it would work. Some would go over like a lead balloon, and it worked great. So, I mean, I guess you've got to give it to them for having the courage just to sit there and do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know right now, Kentucky fans
they want blood.
They're on the warpath, and so it's a make or break year for him. And I do know him well enough to know whatever team he puts out there, they'll compete like crazy. You watch his teams play. And literally, Monty Python, they'll bite your kneecap if they have to.
Just a bloody flesh one.
But they're just taking too many big losses right now. I think they've got pretty unsettled fan base. So, I mean, the first rule of public relations is, be out there.
Yes.
Because somebody's telling the story. And it's either you or somebody else. So you can let somebody else run with it, or you can actually take part and say what you're going to say. And I think the big thing about that is I don't think he had made a statement since the end of the season. I don't think he'd been on much. So there was a big gap in time that he went. So, I mean, if he addressed it head on, went to it, and more power to him.
Yeah, don't hide.
You got to respect it. I think that's what you say. You got to respect it. And the one thing about Mark is he stayed in the NBA because he was creative. He found ways. I mean, he used to tell me that he'd see somebody in the gym from administration, and he'd just go hide. So they couldn't find him to cut him, He said, I literally had to go hide in the stalls. They couldn't find me so I could go on the road trip and get another, couple days out of the deal. So I love his work ethic. And, I mean, heck, he started a whole new career in his 30s and is now the head coach at Kentucky. So he's doing something right.
Yeah, and but, those jobs are always great to get. But
hard to keep.
And the honeymoon, especially now in the NIL, people think you can remake a team in a hurry, and a lot of teams can. Look, you see what that LSU staff's starting to put together down there. You're like, okay, when they got the money and they got the coaches and that coaching staff that knows how to put some things together in very creative ways, they're going to be a monster. And at Kentucky, they're like, look, we have a standard, and we want to be there, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, right now. And so go make it happen. So he'll either be a great team next year or he'll be looking for another job. But that's what you sign up for when you take that gig.
Yeah, it's 100%. And, you got to, at some point, I would imagine he steps back and goes, okay, in terms of finance and all that stuff's good. I'm fine. And, if Kentucky were to move on him, somebody else would hire him quick. So he's going to be in coaching the rest of his life. And I think that's what he has to put in perspective. If he feels comfortable, I mean, and he does say he likes his team a lot. Sometimes coaches say things they don't mean to try to get everybody settled down.
Yeah.
If that's the case here, he's in big trouble.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know if a Kentucky fan watches that and says, oh, we're good. We're okay. I don't, it probably doesn't calm it, but it does show that you're willing to be accountable for it.
Yeah, and that part of it, honestly, in this day and age, that's got to stand for something, because there's plenty of, non-accountability. I mean, that's basically what college athletics has become. You can sign an 8-month deal with somebody, go get millions of dollars, and, we saw Darren Peterson this year kind of pick and choose when you play.
Yeah.
So I actually like a guy staring the camera in the face and taking some tough shots and talking about it.
All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
All right, let's talk about Matthew Boyd. Member of the Chicago Cubs. He had to undergo surgery for a left meniscus injury. And you would say, okay, was it, what play happened? Was he diving for a loose ball? Like what happened?
It happened in soft toss or?
Yeah.
No. Did he step off the mound weird?
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things, but no, the lefty got hurt playing with his children. There's not a timeline for his return, although they expect it to be about a month or so. But yes, he did hurt his knee getting down on the ground to play with his children. All right. So baseball is known for this, having the weird injuries. Lloyd, your buddy Jeff Kent,
washing his truck,
washing his truck,
his lifted truck.
Fell
out of the back.
Him? You know him, Lloyd?
Do I know him?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say honk yourself. I thought you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna come over.
I was like, wait,
I do
what?
know Jeff. I recruited Jeff's kids. I do know Jeff.
Oh, that's good.
I'm just curious. I just thought we had a mutual friend.
So you and Jeff are friends?
I would say acquaintances.
Do I know him? Sure, I'm aware of him.
Ton of respect for him.
I
I'll tell
rooted
you
for
that.
him.
You want to talk about a tough, hard-nosed competitor? That dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But a lot of times guys end up doing things in a long baseball season, and I'm not saying this is Jeff Kent or even Matthew Boyd. Just saying, sometimes guys do some things they're not supposed to. That maybe
come on, Sammy Sosa sneezing and injuring his straining his back.
You're forgetting one of the best, like the celebration at home plate that used to take guys out for a year.
Oh yeah.
That they don't do anymore. Like a guy would step on somebody else's foot in the mosh pit. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to get hurt in baseball.
I mean, you got Grammatica in football who was celebrating a game-winning field goal and shredded his ACL. But
that makes sense, though. He's a kicker.
But some of these guys who come to the training facility and said, "Hey, my meniscus is torn," and they're like, "Well, what'd you do?" And in your mind, you're like, "Well, I was water skiing, but I can't tell them that because that's against my contract." "Oh, I got down on to play with my kids, and it just twisted wrong." Like, really? Yeah, no, it did.
Hey, Madison Bumgarner, he was dirt biking back in 2017. He went dirt biking literally during the season. Like I feel like that's a big no-no when you do stuff like that. But I mean, there's so many weird injuries.
People ask me all.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're cutting out on us a little bit, Lloyd.
I couldn't hear. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over the top of our producer. So my apologies.
Well, I'm
sure I'll be on my sheet
boss
this week.
Yeah.
Don't you ever talk over me again. That's number one.
Well, and Hans used to tell a story about some of the guys at BYU, some that you might know, that would get injured doing some nefarious things, and then would be like, "I just got to get to practice." And that first snap, I'm going to say, "Oh, my shoulder." Get up and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, it was on that play. I just got hit weird." Like, no, actually, I was going through all warm-ups in a lot of pain. I just had to get to practice.
The irony of the whole thing is I darn near ripped my quad this morning getting up off the floor with one of my twins.
Really?
Yeah, with one of my grand twins.
Wow, that would have been somewhat
ironic. I got up and I'm literally something cramped, and so it's crazy. This guy gets hurt getting up off playing with his kids. I feel your pain.
No pun intended. Yeah. Look, getting old stinks. It does. And like last night, I got the old chainsaw and the pole saw out, and I was trimming all the trees and doing all that stuff. And around 10 o'clock, I'm like, why am I in so much pain? I'm sore from slugging a chainsaw around, of all things.
You got to be careful if you get fatigued with that thing.
Yeah.
That could do some damage. You're not completely in control. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you did some work on that.
Yeah, I did some damage there.
I need some help. You got what do you got going next weekend? I could use a little choppy.
Dude, I'll come over with the old chainsaw. We'll make it happen. I love getting that thing out and doing some damage.
You'll turn one of your trees into a pen.
Therapeutic, if you will.
The difference between Scotty. Scotty goes home and works on a project, and I go home and get in a hot tub.
You win.
Well, I mean, I probably lose.
No, that's the right.
I fall behind, and everything falls on. I have to catch up. But I like to enjoy the moment. That's what I'm learning to do.
So Lloyd knows. Lloyd's been out to my place. So I have a very humble house, but it's on a great lot.
Yeah, I don't know
and
if
so
that's humble.
It's not about the house. It's about it's a very humble small house, but it's got a really great lot. But there's a lot of landscaping involved, and the last couple of years I've kind of let it go a little bit. And this year I'm like, we got to rein this jungle in a bit. We got
a bad haircut.
Yeah,
you got to bring it in.
Yep, got to tighten it up. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up a little bit later on the program. All right, so there's a lot of conversation about the 2014 playoff, what it's going to look like going forward. Bryan Fischer is going to help us. He'll join us at 12:05. Andy Bailey will join us at 1:05. And we may even hear from a guy named David Locke coming up at 1:30. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb, now every day from 10 to 2. Yeah, that's right. You get an extra hour of us. And we'll be doing the same coming up on Monday. We'll be at RGS Exteriors, hanging out with Tim and the crew from 10 to 2, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. And, great way to get that you get the home project you want to get done. You want to do the little home renovation, turn your home into your dream home because you're at a 2.8% interest rate, so you're not going to give that up. So, you know what? Take advantage of it. Call RGS right now, and Tim and the crew will hook you up. All right, so as we look ahead to the NBA playoffs, it seems like in Oklahoma City and I still think San Antonio wins that series, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But Minnesota will give a real valiant effort, especially getting back home.
So OKC will probably win in 4 or 5 games, and they'll have a little bit of time to rest up. And then San Antonio or even Minnesota, they'll come out of that series just beat to heck after dealing with a very physical series. And, I mean, frankly, I don't think anybody out of the East could slow down Oklahoma City, and I don't think whoever comes out of that series in the West can slow down Oklahoma City. It just feels like this is a foregone conclusion right now.
That's what I've said all year, and I'm watching everybody play, but it really does come down to the details and the roster construction.
Yes.
And, again, like you want to get in a street fight, they've got the guys to put out there to do that. You want to get in a track meet, they can do that too. If you want to run isolation, you can run isolation all night long through Shea. And then in terms of defense, they've got a ton of fouls and aggressive dudes on that bench that fill a role. So to me, I think you look at the other teams and they're flawed, right? I think the best thing for the NBA perhaps would be that OKC and New York play.
Yeah.
Because I think that would catch the attention of everybody for this all the right reasons in terms of OKC defending. And then obviously just all the hangers on that jump in when New York's relevant.
NBA is loving that they're doing the little media or the row of the celebrities and like, oh, we got this guy, we got this guy, we got this guy. It's like, okay, we get it. There's a lot of clingers.
And get back to the museum. It's night. You don't need to be here.
Yeah, go to your Met Gala thing and just be done with it. Put on your dopey costumes and go to that. Don't be going to a Knicks game.
Yeah, there's you know what? There's some of those. Spike's been
on the
Spike's side screaming since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So honestly, I actually like the crossover, but I don't love all the attention. But you get it. One feeds the other. One fuels the other.
Oh yeah. Well, and by the way, I remember watching it live when the Pacers and the Knicks when the Knicks blew the big lead.
Oh yeah. And Reggie, I was watching that too.
Yeah. Why am I spacing?
Reggie Miller stole the inbounds pass.
Oh man, that was so much fun to watch.
Seriously, that was honest. If you were to put 10 games out there, it's got to be one of them.
John Starks melting down at the free throw line.
Unbelievable.
And I love Starks, too. I loved him as a player. Scrappy, came out of nowhere, was just a hard-nosed, hard-fought guy, but, boy, he gets treated poorly in that whole thing.
I was pumped when we got the old John Starks here for a little while.
I know, right?
It was just cool to have him.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
It's high noon up and down the Wasatch Front, and Scotty and the coach are just getting started.
I'm a little torn on this. The college football playoff looks like we're on our way to 24 teams. Is there such thing as too much of a good thing? I think so, because I think we're looking at a situation right now where we're just turning it into a glorified NFL playoff. I would much rather keep this thing somewhat limited.
It seems high, but what I do like about it is you're going to make sure at that point, if you're arguing for the wrong thing. But in terms of like real teams that can contend, I think 24 is actually a number that will ensure that, the champion will actually have to really be tested.
This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Bryan Fischer is going to join us coming up here in just a moment, as he's even got a way too early top 25 rankings.
I don't know how you even do that right now.
I love it, man. Absolutely love it.
Talk to the boosters.
It's like, hey, how much money are you guys going to spend? This much? Okay, I'm going to put you top 10.
The early ones are dumb anyway. I mean, it's all a popularity contest.
And it's all just, look, everybody loves college football. There's no offseason.
It's fodder.
Just keep feeding the beast, man.
And it's good for us.
Heck yeah, absolutely. So Bryan Fischer from Sports Illustrated is going to stop by. We'll chat with him here in just a moment. And, I'm sure he's getting tired of all the questions, but it's like, is this ever going to change? Are we ever going to get some guardrails in this thing? And as of right now, the answer is no.
Well, and the crazy part is it's probably silly to ask him that question, but who do you even ask that question to now that would be – you can't ask anybody at the NCAA. They don't know.
No.
So, I mean, we are literally in the weirdest time in college athletics.
There are I know there for a fact are a team or maybe multiple teams, and if you're smart, multiple teams are doing this, that are specifically leaving open spots for their football team for the upcoming season and they've told guys like, hey, if with this 5x5 comes through and then somebody sues and you get a chance to play another year, we've got a spot available for you, so hang in there with us. Because if that goes through, then we're going to get you back out on the field. But nobody knows. Everybody's just kind of standing by, waiting for something to happen. All right, joining us now from Sports Illustrated, Bryan Fischer. You can follow him on Twitter at Bryan D. Fischer. He covers all college athletics, but, man, the dude knows more about college football than you'll ever know. He joins us now. Bryan, how are you?
For a slow time on the calendar, I'm doing pretty well.
It never really feels like the slow. We always anticipate the slow times coming, but then you got hey, let's move this thing to 24, or let's go 5 for 5 in playing. It seems like there's always something popping.
Yeah, it's always funny. You run into people, who have normal jobs, and they say, what do you do after the season? Well, it's stuff like this, and tracking NCAA tournament expansion, and meetings, and approvals, and all that. And that's, I guess, the nature of college sports nowadays in the off season. But definitely seems like it's keeping us all busy.
Bryan, I just saw you're way too early. Top 25 for college. It'd be prior to the summer, and obviously things pending change. But you have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at number 1 this year, going into at least this phase. What stands out about the Irish? They're actually coming and playing in Utah this year, so excited to hear more about them right now.
Yeah, that game against BYU, that might be one of their toughest, if not the toughest, certainly game on their schedule. And that's part of the factor, right? I think you could probably circle that Notre Dame-Miami game as well as possibly being, for a potential bye in the college football playoff this year. I think that's just how strong the Irish are at this point, in terms of what they got coming back. And look, it's tough. I know they lost 2 first-round running backs and really the heart of and the soul of their team and Jeremiah Love. But, they have all the ingredients. Like the chip on their shoulder, certainly from the playoff snub last year, I think is going to be a driving force with this team. But having a returning quarterback like C.J. Carr, somebody who I think is poised to develop even further from what we saw in his first year as a starter. We know offensive line-wise that they've always been good up front. They've shuffled a few things around in the spring to get even better, along the offensive line. I think they're pretty confident, in talking with some of the staff in terms of the wide receivers and some of the weapons that they've brought in. So this team, you throw in the defense that you always know Marcus Freeman's going to have there. This looks like one of those teams that could go on a very special run this season.
All right, so first off, 5 for 5, do you think that gets in play? And do you think, I know that right now they say it won't be retroactive, but ultimately do you think if it does go through, it will be somewhat retroactive?
It's going to be depending on how much eligibility you have left. There's certainly some of those implementation things is what a lot of the folks at the NCAA have been talking to me about, and it does sound like it's going to pass. Like at this point, they're so far down the road. You have so many leaders now at the NCAA that are pushing for this as not only a common sense kind of from a common sense standpoint, but really saying this is what we got to do in order to. We might get a couple lawsuits around it, but in terms of the long-term interest of college football and college basketball and a lot of the other sports, this is going to be a positive in terms of clearly setting some guardrails and some boundaries and getting away from the waiver process. It's just going to clean a lot of that stuff up, long term. And I think this is something that NCAA leadership has moved pretty quickly on. I would anticipate something happening formally, this summer and potentially even early this summer, as soon as next couple of weeks. As far as being retroactive, that's the one thing that I think everybody is kind of circling on. I think we're kind of too far past that boat, but certainly for some of the kids nowadays that maybe they just got into school, or maybe they're kind of on that border to where they could end up taking advantage of another year. That's the thing that I think everybody is kind of on pins and needles for. Some kids are going to benefit from it. Some kids are not, and that's kind of just the nature of the game right now. And what everybody is hoping to get some clarity on here, really ideally in the next 6 or so weeks.
Obviously, the state of college athletics is a major conversation everywhere, and the guardrails that were there at one point are no longer there. We had a college coach on this week, or last week actually, saying not even sure what the rules are and how enforceable or how enforced anything is. Do you feel like this 5x5 could be a first step in the direction of trying to get some order restored to what's been total chaos?
Yeah, I think this is a big move, and I mean, this is the most significant changes certainly towards eligibility since, freshmen became eligible back in the 70s. So, this is a pretty massive change, which I don't think some people are kind of grasping at this point, just how significant this could be for a lot of people out there. And to me, it is just kind of simplifying things and clarifying things, to where you only have very narrow exceptions to where you can't play those extra years. It's going to be interesting for coaches, the thought of not having red shirts, and not having to manage guys' minutes or manage guys' games in terms of, all right, are they going to be, that they've played 3 games? Do we want to kind of save them for later? All that's going to be kind of thrown out the window in terms of how everybody's going to approach their roster building. And I think it's going to be a pretty big change for a lot of guys, and especially now so with NIL, with revenue sharing being such a really interwoven part in college athletics. It's definitely going to set some people up for life, down the roads, and hopefully does bring a little bit more clarity and a little bit more, calmness in terms of some of the player movement. This legal infighting that you're seeing schools going to with the NCAA itself, which they're obviously members of. Hopefully this tampers that down a little bit. I don't think we can ever say college athletics is going to be nice and clean and concise and having no issues. But this definitely can bring certainly some more straightforward things and maybe calm the waters a little bit moving forward.
Well, I think that's certainly the hope, and I think people just want some level of what to expect year in and year out and have some kind of roster stability. But it does make for some interesting times around the transfer portal, and makes, in a weird way, makes college athletics a little bit more relevant. You've got your NFL and NBA free agency that keeps those sports in the forefront. Now you have college football and college basketball free agency which it makes them a little bit more relevant. It makes that sport a little bit more relevant during an off season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like, really, you look at the past month in college basketball, I think it does kind of extend that window. It used to seem like, college basketball would drop off the map, after the Final Four. Well, certainly with the transfer portal opening and the player movement that has gone on, obviously a lot of talk about, revenue sharing and NIL and how much these rosters are making amongst the coaching staffs. And they're even going public with a lot of their complaints and criticism. It's kind of extended the window, in terms of, relevance in college sports. And certainly the same is true in college football, and you going back to January right after the title game when teams are just back in the news, and I think that is probably a good thing from a relevant standpoint with sport, but it does definitely lead to a lot of headaches on campus amongst coaches and administrators as they try to deal with this and really deal with an environment that continues to change kind of year over year.
Blue blood, that whole designation, we've been talking about it a little today with, Kentucky's really struggling right now to sign, the guys that they want. They've had a bunch of guys come on visits, and typically at Kentucky, that's a done deal. Alabama, I see you have them 15th, and certainly that's a drop from every year you look to see if it's Auburn, Alabama, or, you look up there back in the day. But certainly they've lost a little of their shine. Is this, do we have to kind of sit back and wait to see who the new powers of college football are with the way that they're able to spend?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. You do have to pinch yourself, especially if you're old enough when you just, without even thought, putting Indiana above Alabama in a football top 25 and not blinking twice. I mean, it is crazy to think. And, that really does. I don't think the brands, especially those historic blue bloods are in any way diminished, but it does, kind of speak to, the fact that it's a much more level playing field. I mean, Kirby Smart has been seemingly on the warpath these last couple of weeks in terms of speaking, in terms of just the depth, that those typical programs you would expect, those blue bloods that you would would have, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, guys that would be drafted but were playing in backup positions and just kind of waiting their times. That's no longer the case, and that's for football and men's basketball at this point. It's really, about playing time. It's certainly about money, and that's definitely even the playing field out. And some schools are definitely taking advantage. It's going to be. I'm very curious to see. You mentioned Kentucky and fan bases like that. What is the patience level? If this continues to be the case for Kentucky, will they get used to that? I don't see a lot of Kentucky fans out there in Big Blue Nation kind of getting used to the state of things. And what happens after that? That to me is going to be the most fascinating thing as we try to land this bumpy plane as we're trying to build it. How do those blue bloods react? And ultimately, what do they kind of do in terms of adjusting to this new environment?
Bryan Fischer joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tons of attention on Morgan Scalley and the University of Utah. First year minus Kyle Whittingham, who's anchored that sideline for so many years. And now the Morgan Scalley era begins. The old adage, you don't want to be the guy to replace the guy. You want to be the guy that replaced the guy that replaced the guy. But Morgan is going to be that guy. And what are your expectations for the Utes this season?
Honestly, for not much to change in terms of those expectations. I think this is obviously this is a job that Morgan wanted. He's pushed for it. He's been groomed for it. He's kind of tailor made for it. Obviously, given his connections to the program even before he started in school there. This is. It's a big job, but luckily, I think the stability of being able to bring back a quarterback, having some familiar faces around there that he knows not only on the coaching staff, but and certainly in terms of the player roster, being in the Big 12, which it seems like every game is a dang coin flip, to where you can win a lot more, of those close games if you make sure that those margins for error are a little bit lower. And it's going to be a fascinating time there in Salt Lake City in terms of the actual program and not only where it is, in 2026, but I think it's really, how can he, understand the realities of the job, being a head coach in this environment and keeping the level of consistency there that we've seen for decades now, keeping that the same. And that's going to probably be the biggest challenge. You could probably withstand a down year or two, but we know that's a very passionate fan base, and they're going to have probably even higher expectations than they've had even these last couple of years under Kyle.
Do you have a way too early Heisman Trophy winner?
I I was not in charge of the Heisman one, but it's an interesting year for that because and like I've done a lot of draft stuff and certainly looking ahead even to next year's 2027 draft. Like it is a loaded year in terms of just guys that and marketable players. Like this could be one of the more fascinating Heisman races out there. When it's not just Arch Manning, it's not just the guys from left field. I mean, somebody like a Lenore Sellers could have a huge year and make a run for the Heisman Trophy. So many quarterbacks in the SEC and in the Big Ten and in the Big 12 that have chances to have big years. It's a fascinating, really Heisman Trophy race, and I think for even the neutrals in college football, this could be one of those years where it could change who's the favorite for that award. Ideally, probably week to week, given that the nature and how close things are, at least going into the season.
Were you going to see a 2014 playoff? Do you think that's where it settles?
That's a good question. That is a question best reserved for Greg Sankey. Right now he's holding the line for a lot of us that do not want to see this 24-teamer. But I definitely have gotten a shift in the interest level, I guess you could say, in terms of a lot of people outside of the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, ultimately, those are the only two leagues that matter, and that is obviously the key thing at this point. What does Greg and Tony want to do with this? They have control over the future format. Obviously, ESPN and Fox are going to be invested in both of their conferences in terms of where things end up settling moving forward. But amongst your ACCs, your Big 12s, even your Group of Five programs, I think there has been at least more receptance and more acceptance of what this could be for them and what this could be for their programs. And the key at the end of the day, I think, is probably going to end up being money. Can they ultimately not only make this worth it for everybody from a bottom line standpoint, but I think there's definitely some more interest in it than at this point last year, certainly, and even this point 2 years ago when we kind of really ramped up this expansion discussion.
Is there any team out there that you feel like could be a surprise team this year that perhaps people aren't thinking about?
Oh, that's a good question. Thinking about the ACC, in general seems pretty wide open, especially Miami. So you could maybe pencil in an SMU team, third-year starting quarterback and Kevin Jennings, somebody like that. Maybe a more difficult schedule than the Mustangs are used to. They do have to play Notre Dame, do have to play Miami, some other tough games on there. But in terms of the meat of that schedule in the ACC, that's another team in terms of returning potentially to that college football playoff discussion. I'd probably circle a team like SMU. Obviously, you have Ole Miss out there, the drama surrounding them, LSU. There's really probably a dozen teams there in the SEC that you could say could finish anywhere from first to 12th or 13th at this point in the league. So I don't know if there's anybody surprising in that league, but it's going to be fascinating to see. Because this is such a unique offseason in terms of roster building, and I think coaches have almost didn't think about in terms of all right, what if some guy gets hurt? What is our depth at this position? I think there was a really renewed emphasis for a lot of programs to develop guys this spring, certainly knowing that they couldn't lose them to a second transfer portal. I'm going to be very curious to see how that ends up showing up on Saturdays in the fall. Are some of those teams that we talk about as potential surprises, is it going to be because guys developed, kind of at this point in the calendar, over summer workouts, going into fall camp? That's probably going to be key to a lot of those teams in a lot of those 50-50 games end up on the right side and end up on the winning side ultimately of the season. Is going to be coming down to can one of those surprises end up with some additional depth that they were probably not even expecting on or certainly not counting on.
Assuming Brandon Sorsby doesn't play this year, how does that handicap your opinion of the Big 12 race going into this season?
Well, it's going to be significant, and I think that is going to be the baseline assumption now that he will not play for Texas Tech. And I understand that obviously he's hired Jeffrey Kessler, and there will be lawyers, there will be billable hours. This is college athletics. That is the ultimate truism at this point nowadays. But you look at the Red Raiders roster. I mean, it's still, I think, the best roster, even setting aside the quarterback position in the league. And I think that's going to help them carry them through games. Truthfully, Will Hammond, I mean, obviously that was a guy that, Utah fans saw up close in person last year. I think the staff is really high on him in terms of what he can do. It's just going to be a question of health, in terms of not only can he get back to that kind of level before he was with the knee injury, but, I think they are pretty confident in him. If he's 100% for most of the year, that he winds up as a guy that, is someone who can carry them to another Big 12 title. Now, they do have kind of a bit of an interim option. They got a kid from Tulsa that could possibly be the solution early on. But I think this is a very good roster, and we'll see where they go from there.
Assuming Texas Tech is back in the race, which I think was always going to be the case with or without Sorsby, where do you put BYU in your projections with a lot of that defense coming back and obviously some year two of Bear Bachmeier?
Yeah, I mean, I put them ahead of Texas Tech after the Sorsby news at number 11, and that is the key, right? Have a good defense, having quarterback coming back, LJ Martin back. You figure they'll find the solutions that they need to along the offensive line. This still on paper seems like this could be the year to where BYU ultimately breaks through. Things have set up certainly there's going to be a lot of eyes on that Notre Dame game when the Irish come to Provo, but this is setting up for a pretty big year there within the program, and it's going to be interesting. Some new faces, certainly amongst with new defensive coordinator, but Kalani Sitake has raised the floor so well, with this team, and I think. Ultimately, you expect them to be there. They're in Arlington at the end of the year in December, given what they're returning and given how close the league is, and they've been able to find ways to win a lot of those games. You kind of expect that going into 2026 as well.
And Bryan, hey, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, great to be on with you guys.
There you go. That's Bryan Fischer joining us here on 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone. Sounds like we're having some technical issues with Scotty and Tim. We'll get them dialed back up. You're listening to Scotty G and the Coach right here on 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
The best radio in Utah is right here. This is Scotty G and the Coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back into Scotty G and the Coach. Still working on getting these guys connected back, but you can stop by Minky Couture. That's at 1782 Woodland Park Drive in Layton. Stop by, grab a Minky, talk to the guys, meet Scotty G and the Coach. Here is a conversation with Scotty G and Tim LaComb yesterday with General Manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to hear from the General Manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, on your exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Bill, I got to imagine it's really tough when you go, and then all of a sudden you just hit the brick wall and it just stops. How hard is that to wrap your brain around as a guy around this team 24/7?
Well, I'm just getting out of bed from depression.
We can help.
It's been hard to turn on the TV, and the only thing that's on there is hockey. It's been hard. It's definitely a punch in the face for sure. You're in the fight, and you want to stay in the fight. So it's a hard pill to swallow when you get knocked out. There's definitely a lot of motion inside you, and there's a lot of kind of evaluating going on and figuring out, hey, what was the turning moment in the series, and could we have done anything better, and blah blah blah. And then you got to go through meeting with the players and getting them on their way. And so there's still a lot going on, but we do miss playing. Hopefully this time next year we're going to be right in that fight.
So you're not a guy that watches the other games.
I do. They just hurt right now.
No, I get it. I've been there. I'm just like that. Yeah, when we lost in the NCAA tournament, I was done. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you go and you turn on the TV and somebody's got to win. We don't want to see anybody win other than Utah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that, so it hurts a little bit. But it's a part of what I've talked about where you, as a team, you got to go through that growth where you make the playoffs and there's a little bit of pain when you lose. And we're happy to get in the playoffs. We're not happy with the result, but we're kind of happy about the way our team fought and played and the ability to get in the playoffs. And you got to remember the 16 teams that entered last year, there's only 10 that came back and repeated. And the President's Trophy winner didn't make it, and neither did the Stanley Cup winner. So it's hard to make playoffs in hockey, and it's a battle. So certainly proud of the guys and the way that they fought to get us in and battle in the series.
When you're talking to these guys in those postseason, exit interviews, did it feel like that drive and that hunger was there? I mean, when you have Keller and Schmaltz and Cooley and Gunther and they get a taste of it, hearing Cooley say, I had so much fun, I just want to keep going. It seems like hopefully they get that hunger for it and they want to feed that appetite as much as possible.
Well, that's what is so exciting about our group is that when you're in the exit interviews, they were pissed, like they just weren't happy. And at the same time, they were excited to come back, like and kind of grow and work their butts off in the weight room and kind of grow their game a little bit and come back a better player. So there was some hunger when they left. They weren't very satisfied, and that's a good thing. Everybody's going to go home and tell you how great you are and how proud they are and how good your team is in Utah. And you just got to look them in the eye. If we were that good, we'd still be playing. So we got some work to be done.
Moving forward, Bill, and we joke that the season stops. We know your life just continues to go 100 miles an hour. In the process, what's the biggest priority at this point of the process? I guess we just had the lottery that the Mammoth were not involved in, which we loved.
Yeah.
But what going forward? What's your priority right now?
So we have a priority where we kind of strip and break the team apart and get it on the board and go to work about just kind of, hey, how can we be better and study the analytics, talk to the coaches, talk to all the players, go through everything about our team. We kind of strip it right down and kind of come up with some of the things we'd like to improve on for the next year. And so that's where the process we're in now. Then it goes right into the draft, and then it's right into free agency. And once you get into that part, it's it's all about the trying to get some free agents and really planning your team out. And then once free agency is over, you're bringing your team in. Next thing you know, it's training camp. So it's kind of like when you're in this role, it's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. It's exciting in the sense that we get to go in the draft. We got a first round pick and we got a good scouting team that's going to put a good player on the board. So that's going to be exciting for us. And then it's off to free agency and development camp. So it's always on to the next year. But I like what our team did on the ice, and I like we have 7 first rounders that sit outside our organization that are going to filter in the next few years. So we've got a lot of talent coming through the door.
I always like talking to whether it's sports leaders or business leaders and how they handle difficult conversations. Because when you go and you do the self-scout and you look at every angle of your organization, what worked, what didn't work, there's probably some hard conversations about, hey, we need to be better at this. We have to adjust at this. How do you handle those?
That's a good question. We've always had a lot of honesty inside our group, and there are some tough moments in those rooms when we break down and strip down the team and talk about the systems and what worked and what didn't work and how we have to get better. But that's how we've gotten better, is to be honest with ourselves and go through that and say, hey, listen, our power play needs to be better. Our PK needs to be better. These are the things that we need to do on a more consistent thing, or we went through losing streaks few years ago that were too lengthy, and we had to make an adjustment and get our team to fight harder and get out of those. So I think every time we've gone through that, the one good thing about this organization is everybody is committed to getting 10% better for the next year. And there's a lot of honesty at this time of the year and on stuff we can improve and do better. So I believe that makes us a better organization when we go through that process.
That was our conversation yesterday with Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. We just had a good conversation with Bryan Fischer that was cut off a little abruptly, but he thinks that 2014 playoff certainly is in the mix, the 5 for 5. How much easier would that have made your life back in the day?
Oh, man, it'd be so much easier. And, the hard part now is just trying to figure out, like he said, how many of those really big-time guys you bring in? You got to get the role players and all that. But I think not having to worry about a year of redshirt is not even on the table, and everybody is going to be treated the same. Their clocks are going to be the same. I think it's a good pattern to get in.
None of this waiver stuff anymore. It's just like, hey, you got 5 years to play 5 seasons. Whatever you do with that is up to you, between you and your coach. But the clock ticks, and but we'll give you that extra year.
And I bet that they make this a mess.
Oh, they'll find a way to screw it up.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they make all of these fifth-year guys, be able to stake a claim, the lawyers are going to be busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, look, when you've got millions of dollars in play, like, Colin Chandler, He's like, wait a minute, I can come back to BYU for another year.
Or Richie Saunders, right?
Yeah, Richie Saunders. That's who I meant, Richie Saunders. Richie's like, well, I want to come back. I want to play for another year because I can make a lot more money at BYU than I can trying to make a run in the G League or whatever the case is. MJ Collins up at Utah State. Same thing. He's like, wow, I can stay here in Logan or go to Cincinnati with Calhoun and make, $1 million or more. So that's life-changing money. And so these kids are good. They have every right to want as much as that as they possibly can.
Yeah, I guess more than anything, I like something coming out that is going to be agreed upon. And I do think this getting into place, then you can start talking about, okay, now that we've normalized this, you got to figure out a way then to slot salaries, able to be, accountable, and that everybody is literally playing on a very similar playing field if they're able, because it is going to be pay to play.
Oh yeah. Oh,
right now.
Yeah. It's just, it's crazy. And that's the thing. I think all of us just want some level of just like, okay, we know what we have. We're good. That's what you're dealing with. You're in and you're out. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in the next hour, Andy Bailey will stop by. We'll chat some NBA hoops with him. David Locke will join us at 1:30. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
In the coach, Tim LaComb.
Now I know y'all are tripping.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, Tim LaComb. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Week's almost over. All right, so we didn't have a chance to talk to Ryan Smith when he came on about this, but it has now been revealed who the Jazz will have representing them at the NBA draft. And why not have a guy who had an exceptional season, who put in the work, put in the time, and took a huge jump in his career than one Keyonte George?
Well, Keyonte made a huge jump on the court, but it was the off-the-court stuff that really speaks to me. The way he leaned into team. He had a bunch of guys go with him last year to Dallas. I think there were 10 of them that went back home, worked out with him for a few days, did some things together. But it just set the tone, and then his ability to rise above on the court. The big question, could he be that efficient dude that goes out there and scores on lower volume and, goes and makes the right play, and he did it time after time. He was coachable. His body language was markedly better. And so in terms of momentum, I like this. I tweeted it out yesterday when I saw it. You can't help how you feel.
Yeah.
And, if they would have put, I don't know, let's say, I don't even want to pick, but if they put somebody up there I don't feel like deserved it, then it wouldn't sit right with me. But this one feels good.
Yeah.
It feels like he should be back there.
Well, look, we're all about the good vibes, and why not have a guy who really put in the time and work? And I think it's also a nice kind of reward, too. I don't know if Keyonte looks at it like that, but it's like, hey, no, we see you. You're a big part of what we're building here. We hope who we draft is a big part of what we're building here. So why not bring everything together? If you got a guy that's hearing a bunch of trade rumors out there or has not lived up to expectations, they probably don't get invited to represent you at the draft.
No, not at all. And the relationship that he has with Will is so cool.
Yeah.
I watched that firsthand. Will would sit go sit with him after his workout every single day, and they'd have a little contest shooting from the benches to see who could make a shot. They saw them get into really deep conversations, saw him laugh. So he's definitely bought in. I love that he's going to go back there and be the face for the Jazz. And I'm not going to even say we're doing good vibes or any. I'm just, they're going to go back there and then we'll figure out where we're drafted.
Yeah, just it is what it is.
But I like the way it feels. I will just say that.
Yeah. So Keyonte George representing the Utah Jazz, that will come up on Sunday. And Lloyd, I heard you mention earlier this morning, we'll be on the air on Sunday covering the draft or the lottery, correct?
That is correct, starting at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Who do you got on the air?
We got Ben and Chandler Holt. Ben Anderson and Chandler Holt.
Well, I was on the air the last 2 years. Ben and I did something 2 years ago when it was on a Sunday. And then last year we were doing a roundtable show, and we were all on the air. And so we saw it. I was on the air for both when it did not go the Jazz way. So Lloyd has purposely told me, don't come anywhere near a microphone on Sunday.
No,
you're
that's
bad
not
luck.
entirely true. If it ends up being like they get a top 3 pick, then we'll invite you on.
Okay, but only if it's a top 3
Only
pick.
if it's like a top 3 pick, though.
So that way we'll know where they're at, and you can't screw it up. So
I thought it was just more we weren't going to waste his time. Mr. Garrard is a busy man.
not on Sundays, man.
Autographs are up to 18 now, so you got about, if you want to get one, you need to be here in the next little bit. Get a blanket and an autograph.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. By the way, it is official. The NCAA has just announced the NCAA Tournament. No shocker here. Has now revealed a 76-team bracket for D1 men's and women's basketball championships. So an expanded tournament that nobody really wanted is what you're going to get right now. So,
Yay! I am so excited. I've just been waiting for the day this would expand.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, pizza party in the SEC league offices going on right now.
Let me read this really fast. I know Andy's waiting. But the ACC, this is from CBS Sports on this. The ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and SEC staunchly favored expansion, and now they have it. Data from the latest several years suggests that these conferences and the Big East will benefit the most in terms of soaking up the 8 additional spots in the field.
Yep.
And the journey just gets tougher for the little guy.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's going to say, oh, look, more spots for the little. No, not at all. All right, joining us now, one of our favorites covering the NBA, Andy Bailey, with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Andy, I know you're all about the NBA, but I don't know. March Madness expanding just because it's a money grab for big conferences doesn't seem a lot like a overall improvement.
Well, guys, I agree with you. I hate it.
Yeah.
It makes, other than money grab, which you just mentioned, it makes no sense to me. For years, I've wondered, why the heck are they at 68? The play-in games never made much sense to me either, especially since they don't put, like, the last teams into those spots for whatever reason. If you're a 5 seed, you might have to play in a play-in game. It's always been kind of a head-scratcher to me, which is 64 is staring you in the face. It's so easy. I don't understand why they don't just do the easy thing that worked for so long, but you're right. It is just a money grab.
And I'd have to say the story right now in the NBA is the New York Knickerbockers. Man, they're playing great basketball, obviously against a little bit of a wounded team in Philly. But when basketball in New York is good, it seems like basketball is good. What do you make of the Knicks? Do you think they can get to the Eastern Conference final, or they can represent the East in the finals?
Absolutely. The seas have kind of parted for them. And they're a good team. I don't mean to say that would be the only reason they'd get in the finals. But the bracket is definitely breaking in their favor. They're playing really good basketball at the right time. I agree with you that I think the NBA generally feels a little healthier when the Knicks are good, and they have been for a few years now. But this sort of looks like maybe their best opportunity, and I wouldn't be – I still think the Thunder are probably a pretty safe pick to win it all, but I wouldn't be stunned if the Knicks gave them a series or maybe even won it. And that would certainly generate a ton of attention if they win all the way. I don't think OKC is quite as infallible as I felt they were last year, but I mean, they're still the odds-on favorite. But I could see a team like New York giving them some problems.
Who do you think out of all these teams left would give Oklahoma City the biggest challenge? Would it be the Knicks or San Antonio? Who do you think would at least give them the biggest challenge?
I think it's the Spurs. And it's not just the fact that I think they went 4-1. I think they played 5 times this season in the regular season. The Spurs went 4-1 against them. And they have a bunch of physical defenders, which I think is important. If you're gonna beat or challenge OKC, you have to be able to match their physicality. They play so grabby, handsy, and I think the way to counter that is to just bring it back at them just as aggressively as they are, and I think the Spurs can do that. And then I think one of the only real weaknesses OKC has is the ability to take on really good centers. Jokic has had a decent amount of success against them in recent years, and obviously Wembanyama has this season. I think Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein is a really good starting front court, but if you had to pick out one weakness, I think that's it. And the Spurs have Wemby and a supporting cast that fits him really well, and I think Harper and Castle have just sort of steadily developed over the course of the season. They've got a lot of ingredients that I think could make a good series against the Thunder.
The Detroit Pistons, another, in lore, really people our age remember, but young kids have never really seen the Pistons that relevant. Certainly playing good basketball right now with Cade Cunningham leading the way. Do you see them beating the Cavs in the series, finishing that off?
That's a tough one for me to call. I would probably pick the Pistons. What's funny about the Pistons, and you mentioned the lore with them, is every time they have peaked or been a contender, they have kind of the same disposition, philosophy, just super physical. Obviously, everybody remembers the bad boy Pistons of the late 80s. That team with Rasheed and Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups in the early 2000s was also super physical. And, that's the case with this one, too. And I think one thing that we've learned about the playoffs the last couple of years in the NBA is we might be trending away from the three-point revolution and towards defense, physical, size. And I think the Pistons check more of those boxes than the Cavaliers do. They've got a bunch of, for lack of a better term, dogs on that roster, and I think they're probably more game for this series than Cleveland is, yeah.
Are you buying what Jaylen Brown's trying to sell and Donovan Mitchell to a certain degree? That the officiating is just inconsistent, and in fact Jaylen's being singled out by the officials.
So I am kind of in the middle on this, and I've wrestled with how I view this issue for years, because when I watch NBA basketball games, and I watch a lot of them, it is really hard to say with a straight face that everyone's officiated the same. There just seems to be certain guys who get a little different whistle than others. And at the same time, I have a hard time believing that there's some grand conspiracy. And certainly it's hard to believe that there's a grand conspiracy against individual players. So I can't quite wrap my head around why it happens, other than maybe just players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are really, really good at selling it. That's not the best answer, but it may be as simple as that. He's really good at selling the contact he receives, and then he's really good at disguising the contact that he dishes out. Because I think what Jaylen Brown was talking about was that extended off arm that both of them do all the time. He's right about that. But I would hesitate to say that there's some smoky room somewhere where they're saying we're going to rig games for SGA and we're going to help him win 2 MVPs and we're going to call a bunch of charges on Jaylen Brown. That part of it is a reach, but I've said this for years. I don't begrudge any fan or player who watches NBA basketball and thinks it's the same for everyone in every game. And that's maybe just because the refs are human and everybody's fallible. They're obviously not going to be perfect, but it's almost like you're going into each game just kind of waiting to see what the rules will be for that night.
I remember sitting in Delta Center and having a lady behind me when Jordan was playing. You're just handing it to him. So I thought that was the case, too. They don't do that, huh? They don't just pick a guy and anoint them the one and give it to him. It's crazy how, you could see it. You could see how it could happen. But, it's a little bit conspiracy-esque for me. The Spurs and the Timberwolves seem to be a really intriguing series. Spurs showed why they won 62 games last night and just a dominant win. But I told Scotty earlier, it felt like the Timberwolves played like they won game one and got what they needed. Where do you think that series lands?
I think the Spurs probably win it. They're such a well-built team. I think everybody compliments Wemby so much, and at this point, Minnesota is pretty banged up. I mean, they're without DiVincenzo, and I don't know when DeSumo will be back. And Edwards is playing on a very quick turnaround time for that hyperextension of his knee. So I think there's a lot more concerns with Minnesota than there is with the Spurs. But that's another team, and this is another bit of evidence that points to this trend in the NBA. The Timberwolves just play so hard and so physical, and they just bullied Denver out of the playoffs. And I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win at least one more game against the Spurs. I wouldn't be surprised if it went 7. I would probably still favor San Antonio because I think they're deeper, they're healthier, they have the best individual player in the series in Wemby. But that Timberwolves team is very resilient. They're going to make a series of it for sure.
Andy Bailey, kind enough to join us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. How knee-deep do you get with the draft? And when the Jazz pick at number 8, when Adam Silver screws them over, like we all know that they will, what do you think is available there for him? I'm joking, but only kind of.
Yeah, this is another one of those things where I can say I don't begrudge the fans who think that way based on the very, I guess, tragic history of the Jazz and how mean the lottery has been to them. My deep dive into draft guys usually comes a little bit later, although I do have some assignments this week that are going to kind of force my hand. As the lottery happens, we're going to talk about guys that would fit at each spot, and I like to be optimistic for your audience and think that Utah's going to stay up near the top, and it's obviously not a big revelation to think that A.J. DeBonsa would fit there just beautifully. I think that's clearly what Utah would like to happen, I think. I really like Caleb Wilson. He's the highlights of him just absolutely jump off the screen. The thing about him in Utah, and you get into trouble when you think this way, because if you're a bad team near the top of the lottery year after year, it doesn't really make sense to pick for fit. But Utah already has a bunch of big guys, so I'd be a little curious to see how they'd make that work if they get Caleb Wilson. But if they slide a little bit further, like you're saying they might, I like some of the wings for them better. I think they do have they've got a lot of young guards that they can still develop, like Keyonte George and Isaiah Collier. I'm still pretty high on both of those guys, so I'd look for a wing if I was them. Somebody like maybe Braden Burries. He's kind of undersized, but I think he could play the wing. Keaton Wagler might be interesting. There's going to be a lot of options for him. This is a draft class that sounds like it's going to be pretty special.
So we talked about the NCAA tournament where the public really didn't want it, but people don't care. You're going to get it anyway. I don't think there's a public outcry on the tanking issue, but Adam Silver says we don't care. We're going to try to fix this anyway. What do you feel like what are your thoughts on the ultimate resolution that the NBA has come up with there?
If that gets approved, I absolutely hate it. And it sounds like it. I mean, I haven't seen much pushback from owners or anything to it. I hate it. I didn't mind them flattening the lottery odds whenever they did that. I want to say it was like 2017, 2018 or something. I thought logically that makes sense. Maybe it'll discourage tanking. But then when you watch it play out, it clearly had the opposite effect. I think it's quite obvious at this point that there was less tanking under the old odds. And so the logical move to me, if you think tanking is a massive problem, is to go back to what worked slightly better. And I don't think the NBA is ever going to fully get rid of tanking. They're just shifting the window. So instead of having teams tank for a bottom 3 or bottom 4 record, they're now going to try to tank to that sort of mediocre middle. They've given those teams more odds, and teams will figure out a way to game the standings and get there. They're just changing the target. And I totally agree with you that this is not the threat that the NBA thinks it is. And I'm sure they have very smart people in the front office, and I'm sure they've run studies about how people don't like tanking. But from my anecdotal experience, interacting with fans online and in real life, I think officiating is a bigger problem. I think flopping is a bigger problem. Yep. They have some very real legal problems. I mean, they had coaches and players indicted in gambling and point fixing schemes. They had a player who sure looks like he circumvented the salary cap in Kawhi Leonard, and they're just mum's the word on those issues. And those things are like that's integrity of the game type stuff. So I'm always a little puzzled when Adam Silver gets up and preaches about tanking. That's his soapbox issue, because I think there are several that you could argue are bigger.
Well, and it's not as though it's just a recent development. It's like, have you been watching the last, it's
right.
It's mind-boggling to me a little bit.
Somebody
it's almost like the old Tark.
I was just going to say, I got this question earlier in the year too, and they made a big deal about it around the All-Star break, I want to say. And tanking is always more intense when there's a really good draft class coming in. So nobody should have been surprised that there would be more teams angling for more ping pong balls this year. It happens, I don't know, every 10 to 15 years, or 5 to 10, something like that. Like this is just not the issue that he's making it out to be.
Exactly that, and the fact that the Jazz are the one wearing the hat, that's the best part of it all. With all the history. Speaking of the Jazz, and I know you watch them as close as I do. What do you make of Will Hardy and his staff as developers? From what you've seen in your time covering the NBA,
I think the track record looks pretty good right now. You can't really judge a coach in his situation on wins and losses because everybody kind of understands what Utah has been angling for since they traded Gobert and Mitchell, which, by the way, is what they should have been angling for. They were doing and have been doing what's best for their organization. But when they have guys generally available, I think Will Hardy, he's creative offensively. I like his intensity. You mentioned development. I think just look at Keyonte George, his development from rookie year to now. I don't think a lot of people realize outside of the Jazz fan base that they had this young guard who averaged 24 and 6 this season. I think Walker Kessler, he barely played this season, but I think he's probably another success story developmentally. I think he's one of the better rim protectors in the league. Ace Bailey got better over the course of the season. One thing that was interesting about him is he played a much different NBA game than I expected him to. I thought he would do a lot more isolation, a lot more contested jumpers. He seemed more willing to move off the ball than I anticipated, and I think that buy-in is coaching. So I think you could go up and down the roster and point to success stories for Will Hardy. And again, it hasn't translated to wins yet, but I don't think anybody really expected it to.
I think we all anticipate Walker Kessler will be back with the Jazz and that the Jazz will match, most offers out there for him. But how painful could it be? What could the demand be for Walker Kessler as a restricted free agent?
Well, I haven't recently checked on which teams have cap space. I would think a cap space team would offer him, at least 20 to 25 million, but I don't know how many of those teams are out there. And I think it's probably fine if Utah matched up to that point. I think there's still a little bit of sticker shock for a lot of fans and even analysts when they see these contracts and they think, holy cow, that guy is making that much money. I'm trying to look up cap projections as I'm talking, and I'm not sure how many cap space teams there are going to be, but somebody will give him a big offer. I think if it's under $20 million a year, that's a no-brainer match for the Jazz, probably up to like 25. And I mentioned earlier that there may be a bit of a front court logjam in Utah because they got a lot of big guys that I like. I think Filipowski's good. I think Kessler's good. Markkanen, obviously, and Jaren Jackson. But I think Markkanen can play some three. I'm really interested to see what those lineups look like with Markkanen, Jackson, and Kessler all in the front court. Like I said earlier, size and physicality are becoming much more important than they were a couple of years ago, and Utah looks like they're ready to lead into that.
The other thing I think, Oklahoma City's done such a great job in mindful roster construction and having, spare parts on the bench that can bring them what they need on a specific night. I kind of see the Jazz being able to do a little of that, and you mentioned a little bit about their size, but if they were to run Keyonte George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, JJJ, and Walker out there, I mean, there's a lot of teams on a lot of nights where the Jazz are just going to be able to play matchup bingo and attack the small matchup. So, I mean, I think it's intriguing. But what do you make of the way the Jazz rosters come together? And do you expect a playoff run next year?
I like it. I think they've built smartly and patiently despite not really having any lottery luck since they started this rebuild. I think they have a roster that fits Jaren Jackson pretty well. I mean, that was kind of a surprise to me when they traded for him. I thought that's an interesting player to finally move the chips in on. But I think Kessler can cover for one of his weaknesses in, Jackson's not much of a rebounder. I think Kessler is. And I think if you have a 3 and a 2 as big as Markkanen and Bailey, you can cover that. And then you think about how locked down the paint should be if you have Kessler and Jaren Jackson playing a lot together. I do like the way that they've built, and I like one of the similarities with the Thunder, who you mentioned, is I think Utah's going to be able to play multiple different styles. So that lineup that you just threw out, that makes sense to me as a starting 5. But Ace Bailey has the kind of size that you could probably play him at the 4 in small ball lineups. So I think there's a malleable roster there. There's still a lot of guys who have a lot of development left to go. And the ultimate question, I think, is what you just asked, is can they make a push for the playoffs? I think they can. Being in the West is always more challenging. But at the very least, I think they should, assuming health, they should be in that play-in picture at the very least.
Andy Bailey joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as the NBA playoffs continue on. Really fired up for the San Antonio-Minnesota series, as you mentioned. That looks like a complete dogfight. But other than that, what do you feel like will be the closest series in terms of level of competition? Because I think we might see some gentlemen sweeps out there before this all said and done here in this final grouping.
Yeah, I think the Lakers-Thunder series and the Knicks-Sixers are going to be pretty quick. But the other two I do think will be competitive. So you mentioned the Timberwolves and the Spurs. I think that's going to be a war. The Pistons and the Cavaliers, I think, could go the distance too. I think it could go 7 games. I think the Pistons are bigger, meaner, and more physical, which has kind of been the magic formula for the last couple of years. So again, I think they'll probably advance. But the Cavaliers have a lot of firepower with Harden and Mitchell, and Mobley will probably have a game or two where he's pretty good offensively. So I think that one could be pretty competitive.
Well, Andy, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you again down the line here soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
There he is, Andy Bailey, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've been talking to Andy a long time on this station, and he does a tremendous job breaking things down. And, again, NBA writer for the Bleacher Report.
He does a great job. I love reading his stuff, and he definitely puts in the time, does the research, knows his stuff inside and out.
Yep. Right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
So
now. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. We are live here in Layton as you, we've got ourselves a really, really messed up NCAA tournament. It is official. The NCAA tournament has now expanded to a 76-team bracket. I tweeted out what this thing is going to essentially look like now. I pretty much hate it. And I want to get past this a little bit. I want to be like, okay, I'm on board, and we'll get there. Like, we'll eventually get there, but it's just, I don't know. You look at, so every 16 seed will play 16 seeds. So, there's not, usually you had 2 of the 16s going up against each other. Now all 4 will go up against each other. And then you've got the 15s, 2 15s will play off against each other. And then you've got your playing games. So 11 versus 11, 12 versus 12, 12 versus 12, 12 versus 12, 11 versus 11. It's just a lot of SEC teams and Big Ten teams playing in those games.
Well, it makes, if you're going to eliminate, and not that 16's ever going to make a run, but let's just get them out and make, a 16 has beat a 1 before, so let's make sure that never happens again. And we'll just eliminate a couple of them, and we'll deal with less. It's just a probability thing. But overall, like we said, it was a tournament that nobody wanted to expand. The public was pulled on it numerous times, resoundingly came back in negative that nobody wanted it messed with. They did it from 64 to 68. That's always felt a little clunky, and this will just feel, I don't know, how many more teams is it?
6 more.
6 more teams.
Or no, 10 more teams.
10 more teams,
Yeah.
So it's going to feel 10 more teams clunky.
So you'll still have a triple header in Dayton. And then, by the way, don't think this didn't come into the equation. Another city will host that opening round. So that's another city that's going to bid and pay for the right to host NCAA tournament games. So, yeah, that's more money in the coffers for the NCAA. And then everybody's going to look at this. Okay, well, let's see, 11 versus 11. So you'll have 6 teams that are at-large teams playing on that opening round. And people think to themselves, okay, well, that's where, when Syracuse is always making a fuss because they're not included because of their crappy out-of-conference schedule. That's where Syracuse will go. No. What they're going to do is essentially, there's a bunch of teams in the Mountain West that are making a ploy. Okay, we'll let them in, but they're all going to play that game. Or the new Pac-12, or the Missouri Valley's got 3 or 4.
There'll be a place to stick them.
That's where they're going to get stuck, is that opening round. And then your 500 team coming out of the ACC is going to move over into that Friday game. And it's just, I don't know, like it's so transparent. Like it's so easy to see what's going on here. And yet we're just going to say, all right, fine. Like nobody wanted this in the general public. But yet I'm reading the NCAA release and they're like, hey, we're giving the fans what they want. More NCAA tournament games.
More hot NCAA tournament early action that nobody watches.
Nobody watches. In fact, you when you fill out your bracket, you don't even watch those games.
I'll tell you how idiotic the NCAA is. I would not be shocked, and this isn't going to happen, but seriously, I just envision this, though. They have one of those groupings in Dayton, Ohio, and they have the other one at Atlantis. They do a partnership with Atlantis, so they have to fly to the Bahamas. I mean, They would do something that stupid, though. We joke about it, but if the money was right and, DraftKings would sign off on it, man, everybody would be there.
Oh, yeah.
So you just have to look at every decision that's made now in college athletics, and it is a money decision.
That's it.
And then you say, where does the money go? It goes to the biggest buckets.
Yeah.
And the little guys, sometimes they catch some of the money falling through, the cracks. But most of the people, most of the money in athletics is going to the power conferences and all the teams in them.
By the way, they also talked, and by the way, this will also count for the women's. So the women's tournament is also expanding to 76.
Got to keep it equal.
Yes. Now 21% of NCAA teams will make the postseason, and that's up from 18%, which is the lowest among major team sports. Okay, but that was the good thing, is that I liked the fact that it was an exclusive party, that it was really hard to get into. Going to the NCAA tournament meant something. When you got there and you accomplished that, that was an awesome moment for your for your school to make that tournament, especially when you were in the old Mountain West days, to get into that tournament, to hear your name called, especially as an at-large team. That meant something. Now, it doesn't mean as much, and if you're one of those teams from those conferences that do get an at-large bid, you're going to be stuck in Dayton or wherever the new city is. Yeah,
Atlantis.
Yeah. Yep.
Bahamas. You got they will get you a charter flight though.
Oh yeah.
But if you lose, you better get out in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and that charter flight is going to be available for you at this time, and you have to be there, and you have to arrange your whole schedule around it. And we will tell you when you're leaving, and we will tell you when you're coming, and all of that.
So it's you know what it is. I get it. It's change, but I do believe the change could have been handled so much better, and that there could have been a plan and communication. It's like Alex Jensen. I keep coming back to it, but how crazy is it to have a head coach, that is trying to figure it all out and is in the middle of it all, saying, what's crazy is we hear different things about rules, what guys are doing, what guys aren't. There's a lot of loopholes in anything that's set, but if there's nothing, the free-for-all would just be, again, I'm glad I'm in this seat, brother. I'm glad I'm not sitting in a cushioned one 36 times a year with my job on the line.
I know.
In this environment.
And also, too, there's probably a little extra pressure on coaches. Because, the standard by which you essentially set for your coach is make the NCAA tournament. And now they're like, well, look, there's more spots available, and you still didn't make it.
Well, but on the other side of that, it's going to save some jobs.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true.
Some of those Power 5 schools will get a little shot in the arm by making it. I wonder if athletic departments will go back and rewrite language, because that's certainly a different target now. And, it's something to consider, because it could obviously save jobs, because, you got to get to the tournament every 4 years in your deal or something you have sitting written in. If that just got easier for you, maybe the athletic departments will take a look at those.
So I understand that, the economics of it, and I understand that we'll be upset today and tomorrow, and then the NCAA is planning on everybody forgetting about it until February or March, and then you'll fill out your bracket, and you're like, this doesn't look right, and then we'll all just accept it as the way it is, and it'll be great, and there'll be awesome games, and there'll still be awesome games. It just, I hate it when we have to change things that nobody wants just for the sole purpose of money. And that's it. And just lining people's coffers. And it's not about the NCAA making more money. It's about the SEC making more money. It's about the Big Ten making more money. And Greg Sankey, I think, is the biggest threat to college sports as we know it. And he's just doing his job. He's just trying to make money for his member institutions in the SEC. But the fact is, you have Roger Goodell, number one, Adam Silver, number two, and I fully believe Greg Sankey is the third most powerful man in American sports right now.
Wow. I've never met the man, obviously, like you said, doing his job, but man, he irritates me.
Yes. Yep.
Like myopic, but I guess that's what you have to be in that spot. But myopic is all get out. Certainly always the table slanted toward the SEC. If they're going to even take part in it, it's got to be slanted as part of the original deal, it seems.
Yeah. All right, 1:45. We'll wrap up this bad boy next. Get you ready for Jake and Ben straight ahead. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours.
Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
It's time to bring on the blooms at the Home Depot with Spring Garden Deals. Find savings on hanging baskets and flowers to brighten your backyard or any space that needs instant color. Then get everything you need to plant and protect them with low prices guaranteed on soil and mulch. Dig into Spring Garden Deals for 4 days at the Home Depot. Now through May 10th. Exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 boat insurer. We've all made mistakes on the water, but there's one mistake you shouldn't make: being uninsured. With Progressive Boat Insurance, you can choose coverage for most mistakes you or other boaters could make, helping you float carefree all season long. Quote today: Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. #1 rating based on 2024 filings with state departments of insurance.
The best sports radio in Utah is right here, right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, wrapping up the show. We forgot to do this about 20 minutes ago. We'll do this at 1:30 today and tomorrow, and then we'll know for sure what the actual results are. But it's time for the Tankathon, as with just one click of a button, Coach will give you the newest and random, I don't know if Adam Silver has any way to influence this one, but you will give us a draft order courtesy of Tankathon.
Yeah, nobody's allowed in my quadrant. I don't want anybody from Ernst & Young. I don't want anybody with a freezer that they want to put an envelope in. None of that. Just me.
Yep, here it goes.
Okay, I'm hitting reset to make sure it's set and whack.
Here we go. Starting from the bottom up.
14, Charlotte. 13, Miami. 12, OKC by way of the Clippers.
All right.
11, Golden State. 10, Milwaukee. Number 9, Chicago.
Say Dallas.
Number 8.
Say Dallas.
Atlanta by way of New Orleans.
Oh, no.
Number 7.
I hate it already.
Your Utah Jazz.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so yesterday they were picking 2, right?
They're picking 3 yesterday.
Oh, 3 yesterday. Now it's 7. This is about what you're going to expect. This is more reality here.
So we're just going to average it out, just like you do in school.
Yeah.
We're going to take those 3 numbers, we're going to divide them by 3, and that's going to be our best guess for where this is going to land. And that's the best we can do with the given means.
All right. So Jazz are at 7. I don't want to think about how far
Well,
Dallas.
let me go.
Yeah.
6 is the Clippers by way of Indiana. 5, Washington. 4, Brooklyn. 3, Dallas.
Oh, jeez.
2, Sacramento. Salt in the wound. Ice would feel good.
Yeah, that's the Jazz pick. When they lost the coin toss, I would have moved them up to 2.
And for the second straight day, your Memphis Grizzlies get the first pick.
Really?
Yep. So they've won it twice in our 2 attempts with a lot of other jumping around. So Memphis may have some sort of inner working to the commissioner. I did leave my laptop for about 2 minutes earlier when we had a delay. So somebody Adam and the boys could have
gotten in there. They want A.J. DeBonsa going to Memphis, apparently. So, all right.
So there you have it. Today's result, the Jazz takes the 7th pick.
Yesterday they were 3. Today they were at 7. Tomorrow, let's get them at number 1.
We'll see. And then again, the whole averages, law of averages.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.